you look for the safe first, it is in the opposite end of the building. This is my job as the dungeon.
Alright, so please go back and watch that video for the entire breadth of the take, but for the time being I'm going to try to summarize as best I can for the sake of making my... They propose an example scenario where your players are required to collect an item from a safe that is located in a 3-story house with an attic and a basement. And they said what they find most amazing about TTRPG games is the fact that your players will sit there for a long time, possibly up to half an hour, trying to figure out where the safe most likely is going to be and trying to plan their entrance into the building to be as close to that is, knowing that the safe is just going to be moved as far away as possible as soon as they enter. Now, this isn't a criticism of their play style, and if you have a group of players who knows that's how you run things and they're cool with it, they have fun with it, that's great. But it isn't so much amazing that they will sit there and spend that time knowing that it's entirely futile, because the truth of the matter is most players, they don't know that. And most players, if they were to find out that was what was happening, they would be very upset. Over my years of running games, from talking to people in person, from playing with people, and from talking to people on the internet, I think it is undoubtedly true that what is most important to most players is agency. The decisions they make in the game have to matter. This technique is getting very close to, at least, what most people refer to as the quantum ogre. That is to say, whether you choose the left path or the right path, it does not matter, because the ogre exists on whichever path you end up taking. And it is a valid technique, especially when used in moderation. The same with fudging the dice rolls, changing the HP of the monster that they're fighting. But for less experienced game masters out there, it is important for you to remember that if your players discover that they are running on a treadmill with a carrot hanging in front of their nose, for most players it is going to take the fun out of it. For those of you who have watched Critical Role Campaign 2, you may remember that when Mollymock died, and then they found his grave emptied, he had been turned into the new BBEG of the campaign. They had, I think it was 3 to 4 encounters with him before the end of the campaign, and it seemed like no matter what they did, he was just designed to be able to escape, to be that final fight. And while that was going on, fans, and it seemed like even the players to an extent, were getting really frustrated. So sometimes even when you allow players choices to matter, if there is an appearance that you are putting them up against impossible tasks, or that their decisions don't matter because you change the world in front of them to force them to go through certain things, it can take a lot of fun out of the game. And yes, it is your responsibility to keep them entertained until the food arrives, if you eat at the end of your session for whatever reason, or until the end of the predetermined time that you are planning on playing. But changing things so that their goal cannot be reached quicker than you want them to reach it is not the only way you can accomplish. The way I plan out my sessions, I always assume that they are going to find ways to accomplish what I have originally planned out for them by the halfway mark of the session, and then I plan out enough to fill out the rest. It's also important to be able to improvise and be able to come up with things on the fly after they've already done what you thought would take them the entire session. And obviously with full improv, you can't really help the fact that every decision they make doesn't really matter, because you have to draw the world in front of them as they go. But with most players, they are going to appreciate it more if that becomes plan B rather than that being just the way that you run the entire game.